Away from the courts, the outgoing Chinese ambassador to Ghana, Xin Tingwang, is optimistic China and Ghana will soon be declared coronavirus-free states because of interventions so far put in place. The virus, first detected in Wuhan province of China, has spread globally, infecting over 9 million people, with some 472,000 deaths so far recorded. Ghana has 95 of those fatalities and over 3,566 active cases. At a farewell meeting with President Akufo-Addo, the Chinese ambassador said his country will continue to assist Ghana to fight the virus.
As ambassador, I'm very, very proud to see that our relations now is at the historical new height. We are strategic partners. What's more, our relations has been further strengthened facing the challenge of the COVID-19. We support each other and cooperate very well. At the beginning of this year, when we were in difficulties, you gave us a lot of support. You are one of the first presidents to write a letter of solidarity to our president. And we also receive a lot of support from Ghana. And now, in return, we also give you a lot of support. And China, we have made batches of donations to Ghana in different ways. And China is the first country to send the chartered aircraft to send medical items to Ghana. The next batch of donations by our government will be arrived at the beginning of July next month. So I hope that we will be win over the battle against the pandemic as soon as possible.
Ambassador Xin Tingwang is credited for facilitating high-level travels, including President Akufo-Addo's state visit to China and the visit by the Chinese Vice President, as well as the Sino-Hydro $2 billion deal. The President said Ghana also remains a strong friend of China.
Hoping that the future, with both of us being members of the Commonwealth, an institution that promotes democratic values, promotes respect for the rule of law and respect for human rights, that the Commonwealth will continue to strengthen. The pity that this year, because of the pandemic, we have not been able to have the biannual conferences that was scheduled for Kigali. In fact, this very month of June, but has been postponed indefinitely, and I have no doubt that it'll come on soon. Unfortunately, we will not be around when that happens for us to be able to exchange notes. But we value very much our membership of the Commonwealth, and therefore the relations we have with countries like your own across the Commonwealth. And we're hoping that it will continue to be a very useful instrument for consolidation of international solidarity and cooperation and friendship.
Well, that's it for the news. But we do have more news as we look at the newspapers we have in the studio. Do stay with us. Thank you again for joining us. I am hoping that you're getting interactive straight away. Get onto Facebook, join us on TV. We also stream the live just in case you're getting out of home, you want to get to the office or wherever you want to go into town. You can always catch us live, and same goes for our Twitter handle, Join Us on TV. We'll be joined on the stream by Gifty. Gifty and our PR already up and running in her home, so zooming from home. I love the way Sandra seems to always say it, and I'm bringing you the zooming from home. Gifty, you're zooming from home. Good morning to you.
Yo, I am zooming from home indeed. Good morning. How are you?
Inshallah, a day. Thank you for the eggs yesterday. That's so lovely of you. I didn't know you were that romantic.
I actually wanted to present it in a nicer way, but I have to leave it the way it was because I waited for you, sir.
Well, it was still good.
Excuse me, what are you guys talking about?
No, we seem to have a certain telepathy now, so we're always interacting.
Oh, hi, Gifty.
Hi, Mama V. I hear you, but you sound miles away. Oh, that's a beautiful dress.
Thank you. It's another collection from Ajoy Yeboah Clothing.
And it's Ajoy Yeboah making some for me.
When do you want it? Just say it. It will be done.
Today.
Okay, guys, we're on to the newspapers. Gifty, which papers are you doing?
So I have the Ghanaian Times right now, if you want me to go through it. So the banner headline for Ghanaian Times is $200 million boost for cocoa production. And it comes with a picture of Mr. Joseph Boahen, who's a Chief Executive Officer for CEO, Acting Chief Executive Officer for Cocoa Board. And then, okay, I didn't add the rest of the banner headline. It says $200 million boost for cocoa production as Cocoa Board secures loan for productivity enhancement program. And beneath that banner headline, there's a picture of President Akufo-Addo, and the story is ensure strict adherence to COVID-19 safety protocols. And then government undertakes disinfection exercise for 112 basic schools in Savannah region, and Finance Ministry fails to account for ABFA for third time, according to PIAC. Let's see what we have on the back page of the Ghanaian Times newspaper. So we have Volta region gets 2 more COVID-19 isolation center. Hooray, that's some good news there. Okay. And then we have Central Regional Minister commends school heads for COVID-19 combat readiness. Okay, the devil is always in the detail, isn't it? So these are the stories that you can find on the front page and the back page of the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Mama B. Roland.
Okay, let me continue. The Daily Graphic newspaper is what I have. Front page of the Graphic. Provide roadmap on pollution control. Professor Frimpong Boateng demands of steel company. Government engaging police on nose mask enforcement. Electoral Commission compilation of the 2020 voters register. So it looks like there's an update in the Graphic, but we do know that there's been a third suit, but unlike the earlier 2, this one is at the High Courts, and this is from the Ashaman MP Ernest Nogbe, who wants the High Court to rule that the EC does not have the mandate to compile a new register. The court will be busy this morning. The Supreme Court will hear legal arguments from the NDC, Attorney General, and EC relating to the first 2 cases. Still on the front page of the Daily Graphic newspaper, Cocoa Board receives $200 million to fund productivity. In the center spread of the paper, there is a special supplement on banking in Thursday's issue. Okay, so that will be tomorrow, not today's issue. In the center spread of the Daily Graphic, here we go. 2 envoys bid farewell to President Akufo-Addo. COVID-19 Trust Fund raises 51.54 million Ghana cedis in 2 months. And health facilities debts frustrates pharma firms. Also another story in the center spread. And on the back page, World Food Programme gives cash equipment to the Ministry of Food and Agriculture to track COVID-19 impact. And register excavators for community mining, a call by the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, Kweku Asoma Treme. That's it for the Daily Graphic newspaper. Let me just quickly continue with the Finder. Front page of the Finder, operations of National Ambulance Service. Over 12,000 emergency trips in 5 months, more than 1 million Ghana cedis spent on fuel. Government engaging police on interpretation of EI 164, according to Information Minister Kojo Pong-Krumah. It goes back to the essence of the law. If it's going to be used against a single person who's sitting in a private vehicle, and if that constitutes you being in public, and so if you're not wearing the mask, then the law can be used against you, then we have to look at it definitely again. There's something Ladi Ayenini who is calling for some work to be done on it, not just the interpretation. Let's see. So something is advocating an interpretation, all right, also from the courts on amendments of portions of the EI that empowers the police to arrest anyone driving alone without a face mask. All right, back on the front page of the Finder. PIAC wants Finance Ministry to account for 1.5 billion Ghana cedis annual budget funding amounts. Okay, and then the government engaging police on interpretation of the EI. So that's by way of what's on the front page of the Finder newspaper today. That's how it looks. And earlier, I did the Daily Graphic newspaper. That's it, the front page. Roland?
Well, so let's do the Custodian. The Custodian has on the front page, money bags weaken Parliament. MPs cry out after MPP tsunami primaries. And Awudu Mahama, the managing editor, is always making sure that these stories tend to find the front page. So we have also down there, Speaker, though, Okwe consoles vanquished MPs. And I heard his words yesterday. He did say, you win some, you lose some. Only that this very loss is a big loss, massive losses, so to speak. Now we have government also engaging police on face masks enforcement. We brought that live to you, that interaction. We'll go there today, ultimately based on the information we're getting at 10 o'clock. But Sanirigu MC cuts out for road project. And the MPA boss is expected to retain Gushegu seat for MPP, according to the Custodian. He is Hassan Tampoli. He is the current MPA chief executive. Right. Let's do the Daily Dispatch newspaper. Has on the front page, dealing with the pain and anger in MPP. Chief of Staff heads MPP's conflict resolution committee. And it is expected that because it is the Chief of Staff, who also has been a member of Parliament before, everything, Bibia Beye fine. Usunkura Usa. Any problem. So we have John Mahama declares this. NDC will respect the verdict of Supreme Court on voters register. No problem. And then there's an advert, a poster really, on the front page of the Dispatch. It features a nurse, I think a St. Mary's student, so senior high school, and then an ordinary person in small. So if you're in senior high school, secondary school, and you're 18, the Electoral Commission says, Charlie, hurry up and come and register. It will start on Monday. We'll bring you all the details right on the AM show from Monday. We'll bring you some of the previews for that conversation. Up there, though, which is the inside of the Daily Dispatch, basic schools in Savannah region disinfected. No yawa. No yawa. Vum yazo. Everything is good. Disinfection amidst the spread of coronavirus. Let's go to the Daily Guide newspaper. It has on the front page, NDC, we are parcel free on 100,000 Ghana cedi bail. Charlie, who needs cow say drone? Bill, 100,000, fresh. 2 envoys bid farewell to Nana. So we had Andrew Barnes and other officials as well. This morning also we featured the Chinese ambassador, outgoing ambassador. And then we have Supreme Court dismisses Giba suit and Mahama beats retreat on new register. Says that NDC will respect verdict of Supreme Court. All right, I think I'm done.
Okay, so I see 2 more papers untouched. The Ghanaian Observer newspaper front page says on the NPP primaries, don't give ammunition to NDC. Fred Blay charges losing aspirants. Minority leader calls for national conversation on party primaries. Ekufuado task heads of basic schools over safety of students against COVID-19. Government defense face mask sanctions. Okay, the Daily Statesman, last paper, Daily Statesman, front page, Health Ministry to re-engage police over implementation of mask wearing law. Re-engage police over implementation. But we know that a legal practitioner, Samson Ladi Ayenini, says he needs an interpretation. NDC members confused as Mahama clashes with Ofosu-Ampofo over votes registration. Government will ensure schools adhere to COVID-19 protocols, assures President Akufo-Addo. So that's what's on the front page of the Statesman. On the back, on Djokovic, world #1 becomes latest tennis player to test positive for coronavirus under a certain circumstance that could have been avoided. We'll talk about it in sports when Benedict joins us. But that's it, Gifty. Is there a story of interest?
I think that will be is it the custodian? The custodian, the one that has the story about the money bag and how it can crash our politics. I think that will be my take. It's a discussion that we've had over and over again. And like we do here perfectly in Ghana, we'll talk, rehash the conversation. Sometimes it gets boring, it gets really tiring. But yeah, this is our lot. This is something that we have to really check. We're talking about money. And yesterday I listened to the interview on Top Story with Kojo Menu and Peter McMenu, who tries very hard to answer the questions that Kojo Menu was asking him in a very nice way. He was saying things as if this is not, he said, well, they can't rely on media reports. Nobody has complained to them about vote buying or monetization anywhere, so they're waiting for that. I think that we continue to play the ostrich, and this thing will come back one day to hit us. Look, the NPP is to blame. The NDC is to blame because they do it. I mean, both parties will do it. Even when they are in opposition, they still some way, somehow find a way of introducing money into the politics. And it's like we have done it to a point where we are now stuck. It's so deeply rooted in our politics. And we keep talking about it as if someone else has to take it, yank it off us. It won't go away if we keep pretending, because we know that by all means, the next election, we'll still see money at play. So for me, it's interesting that the story is done, but it's the conversation and the hypocrisy that comes with it that, you know, sometimes... I want to use a word, but I won't. That's, you know, just sets me off. Yes, that's what I was saying.
Don't use the word. Don't use the word.
And it's also getting really expensive. It's getting expensive. Yeah. I had people paying dollars.
Yeah, so yesterday I spoke to Parker when he came back from Parliament, and he said that there was one member of Parliament who lost. He said that in his first election, he paid 50 cedis per delegate. In the second election, and he won. In the second election, he paid 100 cedis per delegate. So it had increased. In the third election, which was the recent primaries, he said he had to pay 10 times what he paid earlier. The 100 cedis that he paid, he had to pay 10 times, and he lost. But the good thing I see with it is that the delegates or the voters are becoming much more sophisticated, so that they're not necessarily influenced by the money. Some are, to be honest, but they're not necessarily influenced by the money, so that you give them the money and they'll still vote against you. That's why that the other MP who says they send bicycles and whatever is going after his bicycles. I mean, I'm excited.
Okay, so Gifty's feed is frozen a little bit. She will definitely come back. But I was also just thinking, Roland, is it not because perhaps somebody is paying a lot more? Somebody is given television, given blenders, given cylinders, given cash. Someone is given $500. I've heard $1,000 in some instances, depending on how big or influential that you're known to be as a delegate. If you're given a bicycle and somebody is given $500, somebody would probably vote for the person who is given the $500. So it's not necessarily they're taking it and not voting for you. They will take it and vote for someone, by all means.
Yes, but if you look at the way the 40 MPs lost, you know, there were a lot of concerns that have been raised by some of the delegates, the people who wanted to contest them before we got to that primary. So there was some underlying current within those constituencies as to whether they were going to lose or not lose. So perhaps maybe the thinking was that if I could give more, then ultimately I would win. Indeed, in many of the varied conversations that we're having based on the report, those who tend to give more won variedly. But there are also those who gave and still lost. So my take from all this conversation, and I also wanted to pick this as well. And the early years when I started reporting, the politician just gave food and maybe some textiles, you know, cloth or something like that, and that was enough. Now they give electrical appliances. They even don't give only blenders. Some give TVs. Some give fridges. Some even go as far as sharing the dollars that you talk about. Either they win or they lose. But I think it is because if you look at the spectrum of our society, we have politicians who live with us in the communities, who are our classmates, who we have seen in the public space, who rise up, ultimately get into parliament or into the political space and look better off because they are driving in four-wheel drives. The houses that they were living in now becomes bigger. They move even out of the constituency many of the times, and they don't tend to interact with their constituents. Meaning you can come and wait for an MP for hours before he will come and see you or she will come and see you. And the constituents seem to think that when we vote for you, you don't come back to us unless it is time for you to come and seek our mandate. So it is their time, that opportune period when you want to seek their votes, that they say, we want to exact our pound of flesh. You are enjoying the national cake, and this is the time for us to also enjoy. I don't think it is bad at all, because the politicians themselves, since the onset of democracy in the Fourth Republic, have created this. So they are all to blame for it. It is an NPP and an NDC affair. I heard Sami Jemfi the other day saying that there was opulence being displayed. The NDC also displayed opulence at the time. There were cylinders, there were fridges, there were things that were marked with party stickers, etc., branded for purposes of getting the electorate to vote for them. The politicians need to think, is that how we want to rule our country? It means that wherever you got the money from, and buying a flat screen is no cheap business. We all do know that.
And you're buying for, in this case, sometimes over 400, over 500 delegates.
So if you are paying this much for the delegates, herein you have been doing a lot for them. You've been paying school fees, so before that delegates conference or congress, you've been paying school fees already, doing funeral donations, doing this and that. Before that time, then it means that you are getting money from a source that you know is definitely going to be a constant. And so you're spending, you have no worry at all in the world. And
some take loans, actually.
The delegates are seeing this. So they say, look, you have to give us our share. We don't see you throughout the 4 or 3.5 years unless you're coming to us. And it has even extended beyond the delegates to the general voter population. So after the delegates, then they go to the general voter population. Mind you, these are the strongholds. And if they win the vote of the delegates, they have won.
Exactly.
They can choose either to intensify the campaign or reduce the intensification. They will still win anyway.
Well, they will only campaign because they want to impress the presidents by getting the numbers.
Yes.
But in most of these areas that we reported on last Saturday, it's a done deal, really. You are in parliament already.
I mean, for many of the places, maybe parts of central region, western region, but I think majority of it, about 98%, they're already in parliament. So what's the big deal? They are not going to give that money to the voters. Because when the voters ask them, then it is the places where they don't have seats, that's where they have to impress the general voters. But this one, the voters that you have to impress are the delegates.
The delegates are the kingmakers in this case.
It is not the right thing to do, but the politicians have created this scenario.
I also heard Peter Makumenu call for maybe a certain law that we will put in place to curb this. I'm not sure how that would...
Well,
I mean,
in the UK,
do we need... because
UK,
I think he mentioned that in other places they've got laws to deal with this.
For example, the electioneering is 3 months to the voting. So that's their rule. And the rule is that you don't start campaigning until it's 3 months to the election. So it makes a lot of sense. And mind you, the needs of the voters in the developed world are not the same needs. For us,
absolutely. I mean, the politics is played differently.
We are deprived. We are deprived. And that's the reality of our situation.
Well, it's a homegrown issue, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is Gifty back with us? Okay, Gifty is not. Let's see if we can do 2 more stories, Roland. Is there another story before we do myjoyonline.com?
I saw, apart from this, I saw the story on the front page of the Dispatch, and I wanted to take a look at it. It's about the Chief of Staff, who has been a member of Parliament for the Ayawaso West Wuogon constituency. Now Chief of Staff, Madam Fremont Paré, a former minister as well, who is leading this. And I've interacted with her over the years, and I think she's somebody who, given this responsibility, is going to do good. We need not a man, but a woman.
Okay, so what is she leading exactly?
She is leading the Conflict Resolution Committee, post-election conflict.
Of the NPP?
Yes.
Okay.
Because the conflict is that people feel peeved. Before the election, there were individuals who felt they were unfairly disqualified, unfairly excluded from the election. Now, even after this election, there are people who have lost. We're talking about 41 members of parliament who felt that they were contributing significantly but had lost. So they'll be aggrieved. They need to be brought on board so that they're part.
Yeah, those are threatening to go independent.
And I believe that maybe that's the way to go. But definitely.
Okay. So what's the makeup of the committee? Because that's also crucial. If you find
I do know that for
somebody who
I do know that for the Ashanti region they have Henry Kwabena Kufu, which I have a problem with, because if you see
he's aligned.
Yes, he
clearly.
is very much aligned.
Yes,
So,
he's with,
when he's supposed to go and reconcile
the deputy chief of staff.
when he's supposed to go and reconcile Daniel Ochem Abuaji, for example, maybe he's aggrieved because he felt that there were delegates who apparently are public servants or maybe part of national security, and it's the reason why Daniel Ochem Abuaji was raising some of those concerns on election day, then it becomes a problem. So they have to take a look at it. But the story doesn't really indicate the members of the committee, but it just says that Madam Fremont Opare is leading this committee. And I think that these are well-meaning people that are going to be part of this committee. So ultimately, we're going to have some positive outcome.
But it's also hard, it's hard to believe that even though the party had indicated to us ahead of the primaries that they had been notified, one by the Electoral Commission, and they themselves had been notified of a writ seeking to injunct the primaries in the Asante-Achim North. There was Subing as well. There was one more area. Exactly. It's surprising that even though the Electoral Commission did not supervise the election, it still went ahead. And it's very hard to find a concrete reason. Yesterday, I was listening to Ekosi saying on Asempa FM, and the member of parliament, the sitting MP who retained according to what was conducted.
For Asante.
Exactly. Exactly. Who is also a lawyer, saying that, well, he is just an applicant. It doesn't matter to him who was supervising the election. Once he was notified that the thing was going to take place, he just went through the process. And I think that is sad, really, because if the party itself, national, had mentioned to us and the Electoral Commission stayed away from the process, how do you still say that you conducted the election?
No, but let's be clear. The Electoral Commission is brought in by the parties just for credibility.
Yes, there is a reason they bring them.
Yes,
and there's a reason it was Electoral Commission throughout the other areas.
Fine.
Yes.
But if the Electoral Commission is not part and parcel of the process of elections in anybody or the political party, it doesn't make the election illegal.
But I'm saying that
if the
how do you tell us on Friday? So how do you tell us on Friday that you've received this and the Electoral Commission also has confirmed, and so you are staying away from it? It's the party that told us that.
Yes.
And then there was election on Saturday. How do you put the two together? That's just the issue that I'm raising. Gifty, we lost you on the, I don't know, is it vote buying or is just the process getting too expensive? You were making a comment on that. I'm not sure you quite concluded. Hi, Gifty. Okay, all right. Gifty is still frozen. We can see your beautiful face, by the way. Let's do my
people who live in the Eastern region.
Gifty. What's your issue with the Eastern region? Like, what's wrong with living in the Eastern region?
You know, when you live outside Accra, the reception is usually.
Well, you think Accra has everything?
I'm not saying Accra. I mean, my area doesn't have anything.
Let's do myjawline.com. Is there any other issue before we do myjawline.com? All right, let's go to myjawline.com. Let's see what's on our page. Here we go. Akufo-Addo apologizes to Muhammadu Buhari over demolition of property at Nigerian High Commissioner's residence. Roland, I have not heard, because I know the Foreign Affairs Ministry said it was going to investigate. I haven't heard what has come out of that investigation.
I think it's too early. It's just a day.
You also haven't? Okay. I was just checking with you.
Yes, but I had the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The minister
say they were going to investigate.
Yes.
Okay. So that's the latest with the president apologizing. Liberia's education minister flown into Ghana for COVID-19 treatments, and this was also raising some kind of issues because people said, oh, the borders are closed. But check this, borders are closed, but we still bring in persons when it becomes necessary. COVID-19 is a satanic agenda to stop Christians from going to church. That's according to Bishop Charles Agyena-Sarri. I think this is one of those issues that, can we just open this up because we want to understand where he's coming from?
And I watched this, so it's a video. So
Marley, our director, it would be good to open it up if you can.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Let's read a bit of it so we can get, we don't take him out of context here. So the founder and general overseer of the Perez Chapel International has chastised the total disregard for the coronavirus preventive protocols by some institutions and individuals. He says it is unfair that the same law is applied to people differently when church activities continue to be restricted to curb the spread of the virus. The bishop, in a video posted on his Instagram page, described as absurd how people can go about their normal activities without fear of contracting the virus until the issue of church service comes up. Quote, it is not amazing to you that people are okay to go and vote in primaries. They are not afraid that they will get coronavirus. They are okay to go to the market and not afraid to get coronavirus. So there's a lot more to what he said. Benedict, is all to you now. Take it over.
All right, thank you very much, Mabi. Well, I mean, the trending story since yesterday has got to do with the Ghanaian players, stranded in Ethiopia. There was a video that went viral yesterday with the players asking government to help them. Well, before we talk to Muntari Togo, who is one of the players in Ethiopia, let's check the video out.
But Ghanaian players are Ethiopia na yepese bibi kakra enfama Ghana for na munkatra by na umbra on our aid. So
abano the financial what I say the footballers the season are cancelled, teams not sorted out since March till now. Sky you squander scanning now during the journey be a scanner so say Monday by which is 30 the rent trust you are you ticket you can't of your biamae like it ticket obia or return ticket you abani chow you 24 one charge chow I'm brought to 8 number 5 because after Monday no the day better and he has them na be your resident permit your work permit expire I say e ka for the abani chow obia one charge you be on video we no on share na ntu the better on be try evacuate ya ko you am chow
the mutari tego nie
yes I forecast it yes I forecast it no ni ko kasai on patch say you need like this is in no man. This is $2,000. And so I'm going to check at the Abagan. But I'm going to issue on Mayamai. Yeah, you are no. Seriously, Yamako very bad. Now, say Ghana about here, content on done in the game, but things are very, very difficult because in Kopoku, Ghana Bana, I rented the Gamo move down.
Right. So literally what they are saying is that, they've cancelled the league in Ethiopia, and at this point, if they don't move from the country and come back to Ghana, they will have to spend the money that they've been able to gather on permits and all that, which of course will not make sense because you stay there, you're not doing anything, you're wasting the money that you've been able to acquire in the Ethiopian league. So they are pleading with authorities and specifically the mentioned government to help evacuate them to Ghana. And yesterday, the Football Association president Ketu Kweku posted on his Facebook page that he also saw the video and that he made contact with the sports minister, that's Ezekiel Siyama, who had then then contacted the High Commission in Ethiopia to see how best they can help the players. But I mean, we are privileged to have with us Muntari Teko, who was a player at Media AS. He was their captain and then moved to Kumasi Asante Kotoko before moving to Ethiopia. Muntari, thanks so much for your time this morning. If you can please unmute your mic. Thanks so much for joining us here on the show. And what's the situation now? Have you heard anything from authorities since you guys posted this video?
Good morning. Thanks for having me. I'll say yes. Yesterday late in the evening, Lee Adi called me because we live separately. So he called me and told me Mr. Asante from the FA called him to get all the details of the players here. So they forwarded it to him. So we're expecting to hear something positive from the FA and the government as well.
That's amazing. That's very good to know. But I mean, how's the situation like in Ethiopia?
I would say it's not easy, but we're able to comport and taking care of ourselves from March because our league was cancelled somewhere mid-February because of the pandemic. And the teams also did their best by giving us our release and the money is due us. But because the borders were closed, we have to rent an apartment, rent hotels, and feed ourselves here since the borders are closed. But from that time till now, we've been taking care of ourselves. And the money that we acquired, we've wasted all through feeding and renting. And as we talk now, by 30th June, which is this month, our rent and some of the guys' hotel are going to run out. That's why we are appealing for the government. We know it's not easy, but we also cannot stay here and get stranded and get ourselves into problems. So we are just appealing for the government and the authorities in charge to come to our aid to evacuate us back to Ghana.
And when did you say Mr. Asante of the FA mentioned he was going to get back to you guys?
Lee didn't tell me, but he just told me Mr. Asante just contacted him, which is yesterday. So we are just hoping to hear from him or them this morning.
And you guys must be, very happy with the quick response you've received since posting this video yesterday.
I'll say we are happy and we are grateful for the media and the authorities for them coming to our aid, for us to see that they are there for us, the FA and I think the PFAG also doing their best. Tony Bafo and others have contacted us that they are going to do their best to make sure the authorities can bring us back home safely. And
you say you have to leave there. When do you guys have to leave there?
We have to leave the hotels and apartments 30th June. And secondly, we have our return tickets. All the players have their return tickets.
Okay. So the 30th June, that's this coming, I think next week Monday. You have to leave by next week Monday.
Yes.
Next week Tuesday, actually. Next week Tuesday is 30th.
Yeah. So on 30th June, you have to leave the hotel and leave the apartment. And we don't have any money to rent another or even to feed on. Our problem is we don't want to get ourselves into any problem and we'll be talking about the country. So the best thing for us to do is to plead with the authorities involved just to get us back to our homes.
But I realized that when you guys did a video, you had Embassy of Ghana behind you. Was that the Embassy of Ghana place you went to yesterday?
We went to the embassy, they were not around. So we make the phone call to their homes, which is the residence of the Ghana embassy, the consulate. So we're able to meet the consulate, and he told us the situation on the ground, that they've done their best, so we are all waiting for the government to come. But if you look at the situation now, if you say we are going to wait, so it gets to our turn, maybe it's going to be a problem. And also, he told us anybody who is ready to be evacuated have to pay $2,000 to be putting on a cargo flight back to Ghana. And I don't think we have such money. If we have such money, then we're going to stay and use that one to cater for ourselves so the border is going to open. But we don't have such.
Tego, thank you so much this morning for your time. Of course, they've seen it yesterday. It was everywhere on Twitter, it was on Facebook and all the social media platforms. And this morning, as you've rightly mentioned here on Joy News, definitely, I'm sure the authorities have seen it and they will come to your aid. And by next week, Tuesday, you'll be in Ghana. And when you come, we'll definitely establish contact with you and have a chat. Thank you so much this morning.
Thank you very much for having me. And as your platform being a very big platform, we know it's going to travel far, so that the authorities will do things quickly for us to come back home. Thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
And the tourism sector will today receive some $9 million support from the World Bank for businesses going down. Now, one of the key areas to benefit will be the travel and tour sector. Charles Aite has been speaking with some travel and tour companies on how they are adapting to the changing times.
Until a cure is found, the novel coronavirus is here to stay. And already, the world economy is living up to the challenge of surviving the impact of the pandemic. Here in Ghana, restrictions on movement have eased and businesses are opening their doors for transactions under strict safety measures. We have explored how prepared Ghana's hospitality sector is as we had access to some major hotels in the capital of Accra. It's quite an interesting scene here. You could see this is the Gallery Bar of Kempinski. It's kind of currently out of service, and it's not very much of a serious issue, unusual matter. We do know that currently there is a ban on the operations of bars across the country. This week, we turn our attention to the travel and tour sector. If you've ever embarked on a business trip abroad or even gone on a leisure trip, one agency interfacing with airlines and tourist sites are the travel and tour businesses. Times have been hard for this sector. With airlines closed and hotels shut, the travel and tour sector has had revenue margins plummet.
We are the number one who has been hit by this COVID, this pandemic. In terms of, you can see the airline suspension.
Dharmender Kumar is the country director of Satguru Travels. Innovation, getting ahead of competition to fish out the demand for the future of travel is his priority at the moment.
We know the way we are doing the business, it will not be the same. It will take a little time to come to us on the same position we were holding before. And we are going to focus in some areas like medical tourism and some other business opportunity in terms of corporate. We are going to look into it.
And what about leisure travels? Because we do know that leisure travels are being limited to an extent across various countries in the world. Currently, the US is really putting restrictions on specific visas, under the Trump administration. How are you adjusting to all these reforms?
If we look at the point of leisure trip, I believe so. Leisure trip is going to be a challenge for us because leisure trip it comes with an economic package also, and this pandemic has seriously cut off some salaries of staffs and the people's savings. They were not having. Some people have lost their job. So when we look at this leisure trip, it's going to be a very hard for us to gain that business because it's a totally how you say. It's going to be a complete package.
This is what you see at various travel and tour agencies in Ghana. With empty offices being the new normal, managers like Kumar are taking everything online.
We arrange some online training for our staff.
Okay.
When it comes to tourism, we arrange some destination trips, tours, like for Dubai, Canada, America, UAE.
Yeah.
And there's so many different countries for our tourism staff. Regarding the management, we arrange digital marketing, how to do online marketing and some type of presentations we arrange for our staff.
What's going to be the future of your company in terms of the travel and tours industry? Because investors and even that sort of researchers are helping us understand that the face of tourism in the world, not just Ghana, is going to change now that COVID-19 has set in, so that those who do not innovate are going to die off. What's going to be the strategy for your company moving forward?
Okay, as I mentioned, we are a worldwide company, and we have our strategy on this one. We know the way we are doing the business, it will not be the same. It will take a little time to come to us on the same position we were holding before, and we are going to focus in some areas like medical tourism and some other business opportunity in terms of corporate, we are going to look at.
Adansi Travels is one of the popular travel agencies in Ghana, with hundreds of trips organized for revelers. This year is no doubt a challenging one.
I think it's more going to be technology driven, and because you want to reduce contacts with potential clients, you want to reduce contact with your staff, between your staff and somebody want to do business with you. So as a travel and tour agency, this is the time to plan and try to implement certain technologies like online booking, online payment system, and so that you'll be able to reach more people. And also we have to engage our partners.
Gideon Asari, Managing Director for Adansi Travel, says his outfit got things running even when lockdown restrictions were in place.
After 2 weeks of rest, around 4th April, we decided to come back and use the online platform to train ourselves so that we will still be relevant by the time the COVID is over. So since then, we've been doing staff training. Secondly, we also needed to engage our existing clients and prospective ones. So we've been doing a lot of client engagements. It will interest you to know that we sometimes cook with our client on Zoom platform.
Oh, really?
Yes, we do. And then we play music together, and we do get to know them a little bit more. On Tuesday, we do what we call personality chat with them on Zoom.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we have been engaging our clients, and talking to them, we also ask them how they intend to see travel, coming when COVID is, all the restrictions are released. So over the period, that have been basically what you've been doing, and also researching to see what other new products we can bring on board, even start selling something within this time, and then also how we can innovate the existing products or tools that we already have.
The tourism sector is a whole value chain. The connection between all players means any hitch with one affects the other. But nothing can be left to chance in these unusual times.
You need to be able to coordinate this very well to be able to assure the potential client that he'll be safe, because you are not there. So what we do that we do with local partners. So for instance, if I'm selling a place like Singapore, I have a local partner there who is in touch with the hotels, who in touch with the tourism board there, and getting the updates. What are the restrictions? What are the requirements? How is the tourism board over there also keeping clients safe? So for instance, in our Zoom meeting that is upcoming, we will link somebody from Singapore who will explain to the audience that, okay, this is what we are doing to keep you safe. We will link somebody from Dubai to say that this is what we are doing to keep you safe. And we have invited a couple of airlines to also come and tell us how they will keep the passengers safe on board. Are you getting it? And the airport. And so we don't make decisions when it comes to these things. So we always keep in touch with them. We attend their webinars. They're also having some webinars. We attend to know what they are doing. And we let our clients even hear from them directly. So that is how we are managing our relationship to ensure that is. Having said that, also with the airlines especially, when the COVID was at a peak, there was so much refunds from clients to the airlines. And we too, as a business, we had a lot of money with some of the airlines that are clients' money. We, as a partner, we had to manage that so that the impact on them will be less. So instead of just going to yell at them to get their money, we're able to talk to our clients that, look, you travel in the future, right? So let's keep the money and for them to be in business, and then when the COVID is over, or when it's safe to travel, they will allow you the city to travel. So that way, we have also used that to build or to deepen our relationship with the airlines.
So you're talking of external preparations. What about in-house? Because tourism is also within Ghana, and I believe you also indulge in travels inland. So what about the coordination inland? All
right. So within Ghana, we've been monitoring the situation. There have been a couple of webinars addressing this. The latest one was last week, where we attended one on Zoom, and I've seen that they've started doing some classification of the attraction points, and I'm sure the classification will take into fact how clean the place is, so that if you go into, let's say, Kakum, and there's a classification of A1, it gives you a sense of, okay, this is A1 destination, it is having this cleaning standard in terms of washroom as you expect. How you get it? So that will put you at certain expectation, or if it is C1 or B or whatever, you know what to expect.
Joy Business has learned that the Tourism Authority has begun an aggressive intervention to reclassify all tourist sites in Ghana from a grade A to an F. The reclassification, we are told, will strictly be hinged on adherence of these sites to COVID-19 safety protocol.
The government of Ghana has identified tourism as a strategic pillar for the transformation of the economy of Ghana, and we are doing everything to promote tourism in Ghana. Strategically, we want Ghana to be the preferred destination for conferences and meetings.
The hospitality sector has made a strong case for governments to intervene with some monetary packages to cushion the struggling sector from the impact of the coronavirus. To this end, the World Bank is expected to provide a loan facility of up to $9 million to the Tourism Ministry as part of measures to sustain the industry. The face of international travel will never be the same again in these COVID-19 times. We're talking of the impacts on hotel reservation, holiday packages, airport assistance, and even that of visa assistance as well. The domestic and international airlines is really reeling in the wake of the COVID-19, and based on interactions we've had with the travel and tours industries, it's very much clear that you might not only be paying more for your travels in the future, but as well be experiencing a much tighter system in terms of COVID-19 protocol going forward. I'm Charles Aite for Joy Business.
Well, Charles Aite there bringing that to us. And it's all about the effect of coronavirus on our lives. And indeed, we told you about the conversation we wanted to. We wanted to have a conversation for which we wanted to get into the heart of many varied experienced professionals. So 100 days of COVID right here in Ghana, based on the measures we've taken. We initially started with the announcement during the restrictions, banning of flights, lockdowns, then removing the restrictions ultimately, but, well, just making sure that we return life to normal, but what we are calling the new normal. Now, we need to get the professional observations from personal to professional experiences, etc. So we're aggregating some of the best people we have in Ghana, professionals, experienced people in Ghana on this platform. So you'll see them on Zoom very soon. I have Professor Mponsa Tewia with the University of Ghana Business School. Is Professor of Human Resource, and so knows what he's going to talk about. And then we also have the Most Reverend Dr. Paul Boafo, who also is chair for the Christian Council of Ghana, and all of them are here. And ultimately, we have Professor Yorson as well. And then we have Sefam Lord Mensah as well, who also is an educationist. Okay. Sefam, please adjust your camera very well. Perhaps let's go back a bit. Yeah, and then get to your left a little. Your left a little. Yeah, very good, very good. Zoom is good. Coronavirus has thought at a lot of things, right?
That's right, the lessons. Yeah.
All right, can I get everybody? Professor Tewia, can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Great. Sefam, can you hear me? Now, unmute your sound, Sefam. Unmute your sound. Great.
Okay, I can hear you.
Fantastic.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. As for Dr. Paul Boafo, I can gladly hear.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, the most Reverend Dr. Paul Boafo is a regular on the show, helping us do great discussion within this period. And then also we do have Professor Yorson. Professor Alfred Yorson is a virologist and disease control expert. So we have a human resource professor, expert, consultant. I know that Professor Yorson, Professor Amposatira likes a lot of money, so does a lot of consulting. When he was teaching me at the business school, was always talking about his experiences outside, so it helps as well. But look, let me start with the clinicians. It helps so that we put all matters into perspective. I start with you, Professor Yorson. Now, 100 days of this right here in Ghana. Can you give me your observations based on what we've learned from the field that you practice, from the time that we made the announcement up to today?
Great. We got to know about the pandemic way back in late aspect of 2019, and then we got our 2 new cases in March. That was quite an initial stage, and it was scary for everybody. We didn't know how the pandemic was going to evolve. Looking at what was happening in Europe, in the United States and other areas. So we, as a nation, took some bold initial steps in trying to contain the pandemic. A lot of the initial cases were from travelers who came in, and so we had to trace their contacts aggressively. And it has evolved. Our numbers have increased by, I would say, hugely. And now we are having over 14,000 infections. And we are gradually beginning to see a shift in the pandemic. We are getting to see relatively more symptomatic cases. We have seen almost 92% of our infections being asymptomatic. But now the infection is quite well settled, as I would say, in the community, and therefore people are coming to the health facilities, especially with symptoms, and then when they get tested, they turn out to be positive. So that is the stage of the pandemic we are in now, firmly established in our communities. You never know who is carrying the virus, and that is why it is so important that we continue all the measures we have put in place, especially regarding the measures at the population level, social distancing, wearing of face masks, as well as the need to strengthen the health facilities, especially the protection of health workers, because that is where we are heading to now. We are going to see more persons who are infected reporting to the health facilities, and that's where we need to strengthen the fight from.
And you, Reverend, what have been the observations you've made since it started that have impacted the field that you practice?
Yeah, thank you very much. The church has been very much impacted since we had our first cases. That was when the church had to also join the lockdown. The churches were closed, chapels were closed, and we had to resort to online services, resorting to social media to reach our people. Apart from that, we also saw the level of vulnerability in our society, in the church, where we had to also come in to help people out of the pandemic, because they were virtually taken out of jobs, and so there was no money. So the church had to come in to help people. Apart from that, we have also been the source of hope and allayed people's fears with our prayers and all that. And this, I think, has very much impacted the mega churches, the smaller churches, the rural church, the urban church. Everyone has been affected. Ministers of the gospel, congregants now cannot meet together to worship. And so we have to get the gospel by social media. And that has more or less taken a toll on the church. And it's been awesome. It's been awesome. Yeah.
Mm. And for you, the two of you who are in education, Lord Sefam Lord Mensa and then Professor Amponsah Tawia. But because Professor Tawia practices not only lecturing but also consulting, let me seek your view. We know that it's impacted your field a lot.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think that, well, when it comes to the field in which I find myself in, particularly in education, well, you reckon that, well, here in Ghana, the online teaching, online learning wasn't something that we're used to. But currently, now it is something that, well, we are all enjoying. And with this experience, you reckon that, well, most institutions are putting themselves in readiness. And I can tell you that, well, yes, post-COVID, the online teaching, online learning is going to become the new normal. Most institutions now have spent a lot of resources putting in place the infrastructure to support this online teaching and online learning, and students are also getting themselves into it. To be frank with you, especially with our executive students, you reckon that, well, most of them now prefer even the online teaching and online learning because they are able to really connect via the comfort of their homes. I mean, from the comfort of their homes, and they are much more relaxed. And now we see much more engagement on the part of students because, well, now they are not in a hurry to come for the lectures and they are not looking at closing early. They are in the comfort of their homes, they're connecting, and the lectures are going on so well. In the field of practice, when it comes to consultancy, you reckon that, well, now also you don't have the face-to-face contact in as much as, well, most of the organizations organize webinar sessions to help in training their staff. You also reckon that, well, now organizations are resorting to online training platforms, and that is also working as well. I think what is much more important is that, well, organizations are coming to the point of realization that, well, now the Ghanaian can work from home. In the past, the thought was much more the case that, well, the Ghanaian is quite lazy. So, well, if you introduce the telecommuting or the flexi system of work, Ghanaians will lazy about in the house, not necessarily working and come back to complain. But ever since we entered into this era, you reckon that, well, most individuals are working from home and they are even much more productive. Something that we've been talking about in the past, because in Ghana, especially within the capitals, you reckon that the traffic situation alone get people a bit worried even before getting to work. But they wake up quite early, they drive through the traffic, and they are even worried. And that in itself affects their productivity and performance. But now, in the comfort of their homes, having set up workstations from their homes and working remotely, they are achieving their target and even much more exceeding from the records that we have. And it is working. So I think that, well, moving forward, this is going to become the new normal, where now you are not going to have organizations residing necessarily in architectural edifice, but then you could have people also working remotely. Because when we talk about organization, in actual fact, it is not the architectural edifice, the building that makes the organization. It is the individuals coming together, connecting, that makes the organization. So now we are going to have a lot of networked organization post-COVID, and that is going to become the new normal. And then this will call for businesses having to position themselves to learn how to manage their employees remotely. Yeah. Well, I will leave it for now and come in later.
Sefam, if you look at all the stages of education that have been affected, it also means that parents have learned something. Your interactions so far, what have been your observations you can pick from the time it started and where we are, knowing that schools gradually are being eased into the new life of normalcy?
Okay, so I would target my submission from the parental view as well as the secondary to basic education. You realize that from the 15th to this time, schools are out. We've been called in to come back again, but then it's not the normal means of doing things. I've also realized that COVID-19 will not be the last, it's not the first and it will not be the last virus that would shake the foundation of our family existence, the way we socialize, the way we go about things. From that time up to now, you notice that the inequality gap in education, there's a spotlight that has been cast on that inequality gap. So yes, for the tertiary level, they are making good use of the online or the e-learning platform. However, with the secondary and then the basic, it's not everybody that has been able to migrate or is taking advantage of this online or distancing education. So it's really affecting most of the people around. So yes, it is good, but then the content to even deliver the items is also becoming a challenge. For example, it wasn't something that has been planned. It just happened. Yet we need to migrate from our traditional way of delivering education to the modern way where we need technology or where we have to blend everything together. We have to blend the skills, we have to blend technology, and we have to blend the content. And so this is becoming a challenge. You know, we are working at it, but I'm hoping that as time goes on, everything will be okay. We will come to, it will be our new normal. But hey, it's really affecting everyone out there.
Now, Professor Yosin, there's a great debate, and it just started over the last 24 to, if not about 36 hours, about the way now we have decided, based on the advice of you, the professional clinicians, the government team, the Ghana Health Service, that we're going to adopt wholesale what the WHO says should be by way of the discharges. It's got everybody concerned. Even the three of the other guests, I'm sure, are also concerned. How do you think we've performed by way of assuaging people's feelings and the psychology of the population in terms of disease control and the things that need to be done?
Yes, one of the challenges we've had through the fight against COVID-19 has been the communication strategies we've been using, as well as data and information management. We will all agree there have been some challenges and some grave misspeakings along the way, and these have not contributed very well to the fight and boost the confidence of people. However, I must say the effect on health workers have been grave, and we need to continually support them and also all the persons in the front line of fighting this. That is the initial thought I want to put across. With the new policy, you mentioned that we are adopting the WHO policy wholesale. It is not. We have also done our own local research, albeit much more to be done, to indicate, as it has happened in other jurisdictions, that after a certain period, the individual who is infected might not, that's why we say it's unlikely. In medicine, in public health, there are no absolutes. So we cannot say it's 100% absolute that each one of them will not be able to transmit. But on the broader scale of things, we say such an individual who is asymptomatic after 14 days is unlikely to transmit the virus. You may even test positive on the PCR, the test that we are doing, but it doesn't necessarily mean a positive test at that stage, at that late stage in the disease, means the person is symptomatic. So we shouldn't be overly worried. Other instruction in there is that even when such a person is discharged from isolation or from home management, it is still instructive to know that such persons are to remain for about a week without engaging in social interactions and others. So that gives us close to 21 days, which is what we used to do. So it is all for people to comply and to be able to support this cause. But I don't think, by way of science and by the current knowledge that is available, although COVID-19 is dynamic and evidence keeps changing, for what we have, I think we can go along with what has been prescribed and the data we have and we have looked at. There are other research that we can do to support the evidence going forward. And I think we should, as a nation, commit resources and effort in doing that so that we can be bold and then come out and say that, yes, in fact, the decision we've taken is the right one. But current evidence and all that we have support that we can discharge this statement, encourage them to stay about a week longer in relative isolation. We won't say complete, but limit the social interaction, by which time we know certainly they are unlikely to transmit the infection.
Asafo Paul, is that not where, ideally, knowing that we had the congregation in the hands of the church, perhaps when it came to the psychosocial aspects of the way we needed to comfort, spread calm, communicate well about this, rather we should have been working closely with institutions like you, the educationists and the human resource experts to make sure that we permeated the mindset of the population?
Yeah, that's very true, because the church stands for the welfare of the individual in all regards. And so people felt that, look, as they listened to their pastors, as they listened for the word of God and the assurances and hope that was coming in, these were places where you could come in to have the fears allayed, the fears taken away from the people. And that is what the church has played all this while. From the very beginning, even before the whole thing started, we were praying and giving assurances that, look, the Lord is with us, and if we go through the protocols as laid down, we know that we are conquerors and we shall overcome this pandemic. And so for what is coming again to us about the way people are coming out of it, we as a church, we believe that if we come in to support, if we come in to help in giving the information to people that this is the way to go about it, the whole thing can go down well with our rural folk, especially because they know that the pastor, as he comes in to speak, as the church leader comes in to give any information, that is the truth. That is the truth. And they believe that, yes, is the truth that the pastor or the church leader is giving. And I believe that the churches must not be relegated or put aside, but must be made part and parcel of any solution, of any policy that comes into the system, because we play a major role in bringing healing to our people.
But Professor Amponsah-Tawiah, if we don't communicate well, then everybody becomes afraid. The employer at the end of the day, and even the workers also tend to feel this trepidation or anxiety. In the workplace, how have we fared with the way we should have ideally been communicating and managing?
Okay. Thank you very much, Roland. I can imagine that one. And from what I said, I think that the irony of the whole situation has to do much more with the fact that at one point, you reckon that the corporate responsibility in terms of giving out to society is quite huge. But on the other hand, the stigmatization is also increasing. And that, for me, is the irony of the situation.
people are giving out. You see, when we went on the lockdown, look at the institutions that went given out. But now people recover, and now getting them even accepted at the workplace is becoming a challenge. And that is a major issue we need to also address. But I can imagine that one, especially in the formal system, what is actually happening is that one, yes, institutions have adopted various mechanisms, various ways of communicating, because one, they have their own platforms that they use, the intranet, they have their own communication mechanism that they use in communicating to their members. It so happened that one, it is the informal sector that the challenge is. And that is why I would tend to agree with the Reverend to say that, well, there was this lapse in involving community leaders, because you reckon that, well, in our environment that we live in, the community leaders play a key role in enforcing rules and regulations of society. And I dare say that when you go out there, some people indeed fear community rules coming from community leaders, even more than that coming from the government. I can imagine when the chiefs within the Ghana region impose a ban on drumming, you reckon that what people adhere to it religiously. But in the same vein, they are asking people to put on their nose masks, and it's a challenge coming from government. So I can imagine that, well, yes, the communication should have been such that, well, it employed all the tools, using community leaders, using educational leaders, using religious leaders. And I can imagine that, well, in the country where we have the Ministry of Chieftaincy and Religion, I would have expected that they would have been involved in communicating, in educate, because we reckon that in this era, the issues surrounding COVID-19 tend to be a bit complex, and that you need to simplify it in the manner that could be assimilated by the group of people that, well, you are communicating to. So, well, if you lump it all together and communicate in a manner that doesn't sit well with some individuals, well, they doubt the existence of the virus itself, and that in itself is what is creating problem. I think that, well, the communication strategies could have been a bit broader. Yeah. As in organizations, they are using, most organizations, as I said, are using various strategies, and I think that, well, it is getting well. Indeed, it draws attention to issues of occupational health and safety management in organization. Because, well, if most organizations had this unit, and this unit operating very well, then I could have imagined that, well, the occupational health and safety units within the organization, together with their corporate affairs unit, would have put in place maybe proper communication strategy to get these things to sync better. But all in all, I think that in a formal system, we are not doing bad at all.
Yeah, and we know that once schools are returned, Safam, it also means that the larger population of young people go there. But what I have noticed by way of my experiences is that the young people, because they've stayed away for a long time, long for socialization. And when they meet each other, there are no holds barred. They go all out. There's no guidance and caution. Now we are saying they should go back to school. We're easing it slowly, and ultimately everybody will go back to school. But that's where the danger lies for you, the educationists.
For me, if you notice what we are doing currently, it's not all students that are allowed to get back to school. And I was looking at a document, and we can also allow children or students to stay in the house for all this while. Mind you, before the COVID, we were already struggling with a reading and learning deficit around 53% for the ages of 10 in the world. So if we keep the children in the house saying that the COVID, meaning that the interest of the children, they will lose interest in the educational experience altogether. So it was not a decision for us to say that because of the virus, we are going to stay in the house. So gradually we are easing it and allowing the examinable or examination classes to get back to school. That is why the government is starting with the final year students to get in, finish their exams, and they will look at what will happen when we get back to school. But then with the communication, with the education back and forth, students receiving information on their phones, advertisements, public relation or public education going on, social distancing, the reason why social distancing is important and other things, I am sure it is sinking in. The first day we went back to school, every student that would enter the compound had a mask on. There were vertical buckets at the front of the gate where you wash your hand and then you get into the school. And class sizes have been reduced, so from 30 to 40 or 50 to 20 or 25. And you are telling them these are the reasons. And the guidance and counseling unit has also been tasked to go to every classroom and educate the students on, hey, this is real. You need to protect yourself to protect me, just like our Minister of Education said. And I'm sure from the age 15 to 6, some of them are even 20 years, they really understand what is happening. And it's a challenge, but we need to move. We can't stay in there. That is why you notice that there's more of collaboration where we are, where ideas are being sought from the technical people, the financial people, the health people, the psychologists, and everyone. We are also optimizing the resources, the scanty resources that we have. We are telling ourselves that it is not enough. Already before the virus itself, we are having issues with infrastructure deficit in our schools. We are having issues with content and other things. So the little that we have, how can we optimize it and make the best out of it? Some people are also dedicated. The CRESA bodies, that is educational CRESA bodies, are also assisting the government. The telcos are also helping, okay, let's ease it, especially with the tertiary institutions. I'm sure they are not paying data for everything they are using. They are enjoying some discount here and there. It could have been better, but whatever they are using now, I'm sure it's helping. We are also engaging in the fourth industry revolution techniques in leadership, where you are saying that the onus does not lie on the leader alone to provide the solutions. We dialogue, we engage, we come with the issues, we get the feedback and get the feedback into the system again. So the decisions to educational content delivery, the assessment, how to even examine the children are all being considered. That is why I said from the beginning that we were not ready for this. The way we design our content was not even suitable to feed it into the ICT system. But now the virus is here. We can't continue staying in the house. We need to go in there. So how do we design the content to feed it into the system where a child with a phone can access the content, where if there is no phone, a radio, a child in the hinterland can listen. It might not be the same as a child in Accra or Kumasi or Takoradi who has got access to tablets and can actually engage the instructor with audiovisuals, watch videos, pictures, and interact or even ask questions. But it is better than nothing. It is better than we sitting at home. It won't be the same, but progress is being made. It is slow, but it's sure. But comparing us with other African countries, they are all collaborating. There are so many documents online. And when you look at the model that we are being used, you notice that other countries are also using the same. I was happy when one of the guests, the professor saying that it wasn't just generic, it was contextualized, context-based, looking at our needs and coming up with the best way possible. So yes, there are challenges out there, but yes, we need to move out there. But that is what I think we should be doing.
Now, that said, as we transition to the last leg of our conversation, let me put this to you, Dr. Paul Boafo. You look at what we have experienced the last 100 days, we're entering the 4th month. Something has got to give. So we're changing our lifestyle. What do we envisage is going to be the lifestyle of the church, of the workplace, of education, of the medical doctor, of the patient who wants to visit the hospital, etc.? What have we got to give to enter the new normal?
Well, thank you. The first point we need to know is that COVID is real. And since COVID is real, it has come with a whole lot of protocols and policies that can mitigate against it. And these ones must not be glossed over. We should also understand that life will not be the same as it used to be. So when it comes to the church, now we have reopened with all the protocols in place, and you see that there are changes. Now it is a cap of 100 people at a service with all the social distancing and all the protocols of taking the temperature, taking data so that we can do contact tracing and all that. How do we even go through our service, the liturgy that we used to have? How do we sing? All these things are going to change, and it's part of the new normal. We should not just ignore it because we have not found a cure. We have not found solutions yet to it, but these are protocols that must be observed. So when it comes to the workplace, the protocols must be observed. When it comes to the schools, all these things must also be observed. In every sphere of our lives, wherever and whatever we can do to stop it, to stop the spread, we have to do it. The second aspect is where we talk about stigmatization. We know that people fear to come out if we concentrate and then stigmatize people. They'll be scared. They will not come out. And that will lead to the spread of it. It will be suicidal to have people keep the virus and not come out and then to be cured. So we should also guard against it. Let us own our people who are cured. Let us bring them. Let us embrace them. Let us make sure that they are part. We even have to thank God that they have been healed and then embrace them. And in embracing them, we'll make sure that others can also come out and tell their story so that we all can be healed. My other point is that as a faith-based or religious bodies, we will continue to pray. We will continue to allay the fears of people using the scriptures because it's God who controls everything. There is nothing that human beings can do without God. And so as religious bodies or faith-based organizations, we will ask that we keep our trust and our hope and our confidence in this God whom we know as a healer. He heals our diseases, and he has made us assure that he is with us. He has not abandoned us. In the midst of COVID, he is still with us, and he will travel with us. He will journey with us. He will go with us, and he will see us through to the end of all of these. And I will say that to all our people in the church and out of the church, wherever we find ourselves, if you are a Christian or a religious person, please be obedient and observe the protocols so that we can protect ourselves and we can heal ourselves from this pandemic. That's what I would want us looking forward to be observing.
Professor Yosin, what is going to change? What should we carry on the clinical side, the public health side, going forward?
The practice of medicine also is going to change hereafter because we need to improve our infection prevention and control measures, improve the skill of our health personnel, and the soft things, as we always say, the science and the research aspect of our medical care should be improved, human resources, and also as we improve our infrastructure. What we as health workers will continue to put across is that, as the name implies, personal protective equipment are consumable, and these are consumed, and therefore we need adequate supplies of these. It shouldn't be that we've given you this and it's enough. It will be consumed, and we wouldn't want to put our health workers at risk. So that is something we want to put across, that all we need to work with should be provided as much as possible so that health workers will be confident and prevent non-COVID related deaths, so that all the attention and focus because of COVID will make us apprehensive, and because we feel less protected, we wouldn't be able to work at the optimum level required. One thing I also want to say that in going forward, yes, If we leave things to the discretion of people, it is always going to be difficult. We need to encourage and involve traditional authorities, the churches, and all the major stakeholders. Again, at a point, you need to legislate, which we have rightfully done. However, the enforcement of this should be looked at. Therefore, the target of the law enforcement should be those who create the most risk, those who are involved in mass gathering, rather than targeting individuals in their cars, air-conditioned, rolled-up glasses. These are less of a risk to the population. Let's target where the issues are as we move forward. And in a concerted effort, the whole nation will stand benefit.
Professor Amponsah-Teria, the world of work, what is going to change?
Indeed, the world of work is not going to be the same again, because now, especially so in our country, Ghana, we've come to appreciate the fact that, well, employees can work from home. So yes, we're going to see a lot more of telecommuting, where people are going to work from home. So, well, what is going to happen is that, well, organizations are not going to spend huge resources having to rent huge buildings for their employees to come, travel from long distance to come. Yes, you're going to have a lot more of the employees going to work from home, which has implications for work design, which has implications for the management of such employees. And indeed, it requires new thinking in the way of organizations. Well, now we have to be thinking about, yes, how to create resilient leaders in organization who will lead to the, which will lead to the creation of resilient cultures in organization, so that, well, individuals working in organizations now become so resilient and are able to also innovate and come up with new ideas that will get their organizations moving forward. The other thing that we need to be talking about is ethical leadership and ethical culture. You will understand that, well, as people are now going to work from home, they need to be ethical in their conduct. Because at the end of the day, there's an output, there's a productivity that, well, you need to ensure to get your organization going. So while things are not going to be the same again, the employee now is becoming increasingly aware, and the employer is now to be increasingly aware that, well, they need to engage more with employees, which means that, well, now managing employees remotely is differently from when they are on site. Because now what is going to happen is that, well, a lot more freedom, a lot more autonomy, a lot more independence is going to be given to the employee to decide the how, the what, and the whys of his job. This calls for some training for employers, especially when it comes to the leaders in organization, to know how to manage remotely. And finally, to say that, well, organization ought to be creating what we call learning organizations. And in creating learning organization, what it means is that, well, they have to do away with the traditional cultures of not allowing employees to be part of the decision-making process, because we've all come to realize that, well, yes, it is important at this point in time that, well, we bring everybody on board. This will call for employers and their leadership of organization to be emotionally intelligent in their engagement with their employees and in their engagement in their organizations. At the end of the day, yes, the organization stands to. And we should also realize that, well, at the end of the day, well, we do not have a permanent contract with our organization. If it had not been for the COVID, artificial intelligence was going to come. Employees also would have to put themselves in readiness and be ready to acquire new skills and new knowledge in new areas that they can easily translate. So, well, if I will end, I will say that, well, preparing for your retirement and preparing for any eventuality is now.
Wow.
It is only people who are able to prepare for eventualities and their retirement now that are able to adapt without panicking. But you reckon that because most people have not prepared for their retirement and they are not prepared for eventuality, you reckon that, well, with this current situation, most people were caught unawares and they were panicking. I would advise employers to be training their employees on how to prepare for their future, how to put resources aside so that, well, when the eventuality comes, they are able to bounce back and be able to quite resilient. So that is one of the areas that, well, yes, employees should be thinking and employers also should be thinking. Thank you very much, Roland.
Wow. Innovation, preemptiveness, preparation, and then making sure that you reinvent yourself. What do we take forward? What do we know the future is going to be like from now, Sefam?
So from the parental perspective, where most parents were not in tune with whatever happens in school when it comes to their child's educational delivery, it has to change. I'm sure it has even changed now. You've had several discussions with parents and school managers on your very platform where parents were telling you how they were struggling to even set the tablets and set their children up for their online classes. Some of them had no clue about what to do. Some were also struggling with the resources to even buy the phone or the tablet and the data. You realize that it was something that they were not ready for. So, but moving forward as parents, it's not going to be business as usual where you don't care what happens. After all, you pay the school to educate your child. So when they come with assignments or whatever, you are not part of it. You are tired. Now they are home. They are homeschooling. You are there. You come back from work. You need to supervise. You need to make sure that whatever assignments have been given to them, they've submitted. It is done. They've researched on the way. And in terms of educational delivery as well, where most teachers don't even have a clue as to how to prepare their materials or content and load it online, PowerPoint and other things. No, it's not going to be business as usual. We need to migrate from the traditional way where you prepare your content, taking into consideration the different levels of the children, where some are visually stimulated, others are word, others are musically inclined, taking all these levels so that when you're preparing your content, you know that you need to touch every child. It's not going to be one jacket fits all. So that goes for the education. So it's something that it has come and it is helping us to change the way we go about things in terms of how we deliver it, how we prepare. It's not going to be business as usual. Our social interactions are not going to be business as usual. Our way of thinking is not going to be business as usual. Everything has changed. Like I said from the beginning, coronavirus or COVID-19 is not the first and is not going to be the last virus to shake our foundation of how we relate. So let's move forward. Let's know that we are preparing. Like one of the professors said, if you don't save now, if you don't put something aside, then you'll be found wanting when the time comes. So please, thank you.
Well, thank you, all of you. I've enjoyed the conversation. It's an ongoing conversation, so it never ends. Sometimes I get audiences or the viewers asking me, I didn't know more about coronavirus, but it's because we need to keep the information out there. Otherwise, people tend to just forget, and the dereliction of duty is always the bane of humanity. Thank you very much. The Most Reverend Dr. Paul Habna-Boafo, you, the president of the Christian Council of Ghana, and thank you for helping us do the discussion. And then also Professor Alfred Yos, and virologist and disease control experts with the University of Ghana Medical School, also helping us. Professor Mponsateria, my own former lecturer, who is head the HR department of the University of Ghana Business School. Thank you for helping us as well. Great educationists and also guidance and counseling expert and consultant, Sefam Lord Mensah, helping us as well. And the four of you, you've made my morning. I know that there are many things that we can take away, and I'm hoping that all of us will be in tune and will move forward in this direction. Thank you very much for this. But it's what we have to take you to Kumasi, because you do know that a medical doctor, 48-year-old, passed away as a result of concerns that had been raised in Kwadaso and all that. And then Ohiming Teria brought to us the latest, and it was at the Kwadaso SDA hospital, and Ohiming Teria had raised issues about how the family was suffering, etc. And talking about Kwadaso, we have to focus, because you know, the MPP convened the primaries over the weekend on Saturday, but that for Kwadaso was postponed to today, and the primaries started. So the election is ongoing, and Nanaya Ojima is our lead correspondent there, and we're going live to him. Good morning to you, Nanaya Ojima. How does the atmosphere look like so far?
Good morning, Roland. It is a quiet area now in the Bantama constituency because as we all know, there were a lot of issues concerning the voter register or the album for this election. So the NPP in the Ashanti region had to postpone the elections for today. So on Saturday, the constituency couldn't hold the elections due to challenges they had with the voter album. Today, the election has started in all 10 polling stations, and we're expecting 390 people to show up here to vote or to cast their ballots for 3 aspirants, namely Dr. S.K. Nyama, who is the incumbent member of parliament for Kwadaso constituency, and he is being contested by 2 other people, Vincent Frimpong Menu and also Dr. Kingsley Nyako. So 2 of them will be contesting the incumbent member of parliament. And presently, I can say there are a lot of security men on the ground. Right now, a military vehicle just entered, and another followed. We have 2 vehicles with about 20 military men all present on the ground. Our cameraman cannot zoom in there because he's been told not to do that. And we'll have other police patrol teams going around visiting all the polling stations and to ensure that peace is on the ground. And so we have the party chairman here, and we'll be speaking to him briefly about arrangements so far and how far they are with the elections. Good morning, sir. Tell me, now we are having the elections today. It didn't come off because of issues with voter register.
Yes.
Have that one been sorted?
Yeah, it has been resolved. It has been resolved. All these decisions were taken in the presence of the sitting MP and the 2 aspirants. The General Secretary, John Bodu, was here. The National Second Vice, FF Anto, Chairman Wuntumi, myself, the constituency chairman, the entire 16 constituency executives, plus and observers from all the 3 contestants. And then the chairman of the Council of Elders for the constituency, who happens to be the chairman of Council of State for the region. And then the women's rep, we all there. So we resolved it and came to this conclusion that the 390 should be the album for the.
Not long ago, we had some people from this constituency, about 2 days ago, raising concerns, even though you have been solving the issues gradually. It means that there are still some people who are still agitated with the process or the voter register. After this election, do you think you still have a lot to do, especially in bringing or resolving the issues in this constituency?
You know, in politics, it's bound to happen. You cannot satisfy everybody. But if the percentage-wise, about 2/3 agrees with this, it means we are okay. After this, we shall all sit down and resolve it before we go in for even the EC's registration. So we are okay now.
Thank you very much. And I have with me the organizer for the NPP in the Ashanti region, and he was instrumental in resolving issues here in the Asokwa constituency. So, in the Kwadaso constituency, Mr. Dennis Kwakwa, tell me, there are a lot of security men on the ground. Earlier, I saw a police vehicle carrying not less than 20 policemen coming in this area. Now the military is here. Do you think there's still tension on the ground? That's why there's this heavy presence of police and military people.
Thank you very much. Let me say good morning to your viewers. I believe that the presence of the security men that you see is only a kind of caution that we are giving to ourselves. You know, the whole country had elections last Saturday. Once those elections are over, every interested party within the NPP will want to come to Kwadaso today to see what actually is going on here. In fact, there will be the possibility that people who don't even vote in Kwadaso are the people who might probably come here and do things that are untoward. In order to avert any of such unforeseen circumstances, I believe it was better for the party to plan and plan well. It is not only a matter of security presence. You also see that the whole constituency is geared up. Every individual constituent is somehow interested in what is going on today. And so I believe it doesn't actually predict or kind of tell us that there's kind of insecurity. But I believe that it is caution that we've taken so much. We don't want to take anything for granted.
All right, so not long ago, I don't know if you saw what just happened. There was one man who tried to get into the area where it has been demarcated for EC officials, and the policeman was quick to address that issue. Even though he resisted being sacked from the area, the police, and due to police and military presence, he was forced to do so. So things are calm here in the constituency. Delegates are ready, and they, as you see, they've queued, observing social distancing protocols. Seats have been arranged in conformity with all the protocols. There are Veronica buckets around, and all protocols are being observed to ensure that this election is carried out with COVID-19 protocols in mind. But mind you, there's always been an issue with celebrations after or jubilations after the winners are announced, where mostly the COVID-19 protocols are breached. So we are here, and the leadership of the constituency are pledging that this election will be carried out with all protocols in mind. So we expect them to remain or keep these protocols even after or when the winners of this election are mentioned.
Well, thank you very much, Nane Aljima. And we'll get back to you subsequently on regular programming on the channel. And ultimately, when the counting starts after 1, we will be there live as well. But for the things that we have to do, we have to tell you to get interactive. And Facebook Joy News on TV is always available for you. So we have our Twitter handle at Joy News on TV. Joy News TV is our YouTube channel officially. And you can get all the best updates through myjohnline.com. Indeed, the primaries in Kwadaso, all the updates on myjohnline.com. So make sure you stick and stay, get all those updates, and let us know what you think. Where we're also going is how development is going with the 100-bed facility being constructed by the Ghana Private Sector Fund. And Senor Jose and his group, they've been doing some amazing work. Okay? And Mama Vio Sabaje is touching base with the stage of development where they have reached and having that interaction. We have to take a break. When we come back, we will try as much as possible to see whether we can go live there. But even if that we are not able to, we'll bring you all the latest updates. Stay with us right here on the show. And the man in that video is the man at the forefront of all this, Senor Jose, the CEO for the bulk Chamber of Distributors. But look, all the things that we have to do, we need to make sure that we give a lending hand. That's what we're doing right here on the AM show, also on Joy News. And Mama V is there, right there. We're all part of the challenge. I started my donation through the short code yesterday. I gave a minimum of 100. I'll do more. Haven't seen this. I'm even going to do more. And Mama V is there to give us all the latest update as to how it's going. She's looking all Ajoya boyish, shaking the head, believing me that we're all going to read together. Mama V, you look like an engineer. I think you are in the wrong profession.
Well, I'll start work as an engineer once you say it suits me.
Well,
but listen, you haven't started contributing yet. Nobody has nominated you. I'm nominating you, Roland Walker, to contribute is the 10 Ghana Challenge. But I'm not asking you, Roland Walker, to contribute 10 Ghana cities. You can do about 1,000 Ghana cities or more.
I did 100 yesterday. I'll be doing 100 every day till I reach my 1,000.
This is the infectious isolation treatments. Okay, I hear you. But I'm at the project site of the Infectious Disease Isolation Treatment Center, the only one of its kind in our country. The last time I was here, just about a month ago, this was not there. It was just the foundation. But look how far we've come with the project. I am back again, this time taking up the challenge thrown at all of us by Managing Trustee of the Private Sector Trust Fund, Senor Jose. He's asking all of us to contribute at least 10 Ghana cedis to the completion of this project. I am just running so I can catch up with him. He would explain where we are with the project. So come with me. And Senor Jose, can we say good morning to you first of all? Say good morning to our viewers. We're live.
Yeah, good morning, good morning, viewers of Joy News, people of Ghana. You're welcome to the Facility 100 project.
Great.
Currently, we are doing the external landscaping. As you can see on the walls, we are doing the texturing so we can get the painting going on. We are still testing paint colors out there. You can come with me.
All right. So here we go.
Yes. Sorry, you're on the heels.
Well, I came in heels. It's my fault, so that's fine.
What we have here, this is actually the floor of the entire building. This is the main entrance. So this is the ambulance ramp that would enable us to have...
Explain again.
So you have an ambulance ramp. So what we do right now is the external landscaping to enable an ambulance climb up a ramp and then drop patients for care.
Okay.
And this is the main entrance. You can come this way.
So Senor is taking us on a tour of the facility. Of course, the first time I came here, it was just the foundation.
That was just about a month and a half ago, I think. So this is going to be the main entrance of the building. Okay. We call here the pre-trial area. When patients come here, we sort them out. If people, we don't have certainty about their level of infection, we put them in the trial area to the side, right? And then there's another set of rooms here where we isolate, take tests till we confirm they are infectious. So you don't have people who come here with suspicion of infection actually rather picking an infection in here. Okay, so when you're crossing that is what we call the corridor of hope.
This is the corridor of hope.
This is the corridor of hope. It actually walks you straight into the entire ward treatment areas. So these are standard rooms for the wards.
Can we take a look?
Yeah, we will. We will take a look. Any of them works.
Good morning.
Any of them works. We're just clearing out the floor so we can actually start the floor work. So the windows are up. You can see the ceilings are about to be done. We are working 24 hours so we can still cover and then hopefully meet our set deadline. That's the ICU is way down the corner, which we'll be working up to. So same. So you see the rooms are pretty big, but they are big because with infectious diseases, we want to minimize cross-contamination. Here is our nursing station, which is also being firmed up. And what you see there is the medical block. That's the access. It's a one-way access coming in. Where you are right now is more the entire treatment area. Okay. We'll go to the ICU section briefly.
Okay.
The ICU has been fully sponsored by the Bank of Ghana. The Bank of Ghana fully sponsored the ICU. And it's going to be the first unit that's being completed. As you can see, we'll go down that way quickly before we miss.
So this is the ICU?
We'll walk in there. But I think you see what's going on here. We have an 800 kVA generator. 800 kVA generator being installed. Currently being installed by AXA, who are the suppliers of our generator. So you can see that's going on because it's going to fully powered by air condition, treated air conditions. You're going to have all the air coming in UV treated and all the air going out also UV treated. So you don't have contamination coming in or going out of the building. It needs a lot of power. This place is fully climatically controlled. So you need backup power at all times. We are yet to actually get ECG to actually connect the place. We are not too sure whether they will be doing it in time or not. And we've also taken a decision not to pay for that kind of service. Connecting here is not something that this project should be paying for. But using the grid is something that the facility will pay for. But getting connected is not something we'll pay for. So we started with generator to power it, and we expect ECG to come through in time. So these are the ICU units. This is a typical room for the ICU. You see the ceilings this is going to be the first to be done possibly by the weekend, and then the rest will also join through, early part of next week. The ceilings are up. We should be having the flooring done by the weekend. If you pay us a visit, I think you should see that. So these are the bathrooms. Typically, ICUs only keep bathrooms. But we're making room for people who may be in between that situation where they could possibly move and take their own showers and use their own bathroom.
And you say this is adopted, the Bank of Ghana has adopted this ICU unit?
Yes, the Bank of Ghana has adopted that. Here, for example, is a monitoring unit. All the ICU rooms are supposed to have CCTVs because these are people in critical conditions. They hardly move. You need to be able to make an intervention when there's some form of urgency. So you're going to have the nurses and some of the medics here who will be monitoring them on screen. This is another one for another part of the ICU. Then crossing over is where you have an extremely critical case. So these ones, you have very isolated people. So you have, all these are one-way accesses, fully blocked with hermetic controls there. This exclusive one-room, extremely critical care places. So you just have one bed and a patient who can practically not move at all, has an extremely critical case. Everyone here will be on ventilator. That's what you're likely going to have. So you have 5 of them out of the total 21-bed ICU unit. This takes you out of the ICU block or the ICU wing, and it takes you into the exit corridor. This place has 2 exits. One that way and one this way. This exit is actually meant for patients who are expired. So patients who pass on, they go into a cold room here, we call the cadaver. The cadaver is a cold room. And then this aisle is where the medics would always pass to exit. They would have to walk through this place into what we call the decontamination chambers. This is an infectious disease facility. So people coming here would have to be effectively PPE controlled or protected so they don't get infected. But when they are going to the medical block, they need to clean up so they don't go into the medical block with any infection. So you do that decontamination in the chamber. We have 3 chambers. That's why the facility is unique. So you realize that the workflow for a normal hospital is not the same as the workflow here. The entrance into this facility and your exit are totally different. Because the only way to exit is for you to be properly decontaminated. This is the first of the chambers. I go. Yeah. And this is the second of the decontamination chamber. And then you have the third. By the third, you have the medical officer or nurse or whoever is serving here, the frontliner, is clean and now can walk into the medical block. This medical pharmacy, it has 2 dispensaries, and it also has a lounge for the medics. They can have their lunch, and there's a kitchenette out there. So they can have some comfortable place, watch TV, relax after their stressful times in there. There are a number of meeting rooms that go all the way to the end. And you also have the lab at that point. The lab we are putting together is supposed to be close to what you have in Gucci. So most of the cases that come here, we don't need to wait for samples to be sent all the way to another lab before you can confirm whether somebody has an infection or not. This is one of the courtyards you have for the medics. And you realize now that you have a different block, even though it looks like one whole unit. So this is the entire medical block with various meeting rooms and also offices for the medics. The medics, we are going to enter what we call the PPE gowning room. This PPE gowning room is where the medics will prepare to go to the treatment area to take care of patients. This again is a one-way access. So when you go in, you don't return. The only way to return is for you to come through the decontamination chamber. So we can go back in, and you see we practically done a very beautiful U-turn. Far at the end is what we call the victory aisle. This particular aisle, we call it the response aisle, because when there are cases, you need to respond to the cases.
Okay.
So we'll walk down the victory aisle.
Okay, and whilst we do that, I just want to ask, because we also want as many people to take part in this challenge. You're asking people to contribute at least 10 Ghana cedis.
Yes.
Explain.
Very well. We are currently underfunded, or we have a funding gap of about 6.5 million. It was 7.1, but we got some donations coming in yesterday and on Monday, and that has closed the funding gap to about 6.5 million. This is a property that belongs to the people of Ghana. It's something that is being driven by the private sector. The private sector are not just business corporates or public corporates. The private sector is every single person, every single individual in your own capacity. You are part of the private sector. When you donate to this project, you actually don't do anybody any special favors. You may just be protecting your own self. You may just be protecting the life of a family member, a neighbor, a friend, or for sure, another human. And that is service to humanity, something that we should all be called to do. So all we've done here is make it possible for everybody to participate and own this property. This property doesn't belong to any individual. It's going to be operated by the Ministry of Health and the Ghana Health Service for the public. And services and treatments often in the infectious disease facilities are often for free. So we are all going to be beneficiaries of it. Absolutely. So all we've asked is that people dial *718*25*219#. I know it's long, but to save your own life, to save the life of another person, your family member, a friend, it is more than worth it. *718*25*219#. Dial it, follow the prompts, or visit our website www.ghanacovid19fund.com, and you have various donation options. By your Visa card, if you don't live in Ghana, you want to donate from outside, or you want to use that, and you have the option to also pay into our bank account. It is in there. Our funds are transparently managed. The fund manager is Stanlib Ghana Limited. I don't manage the funds. The trustees don't manage the funds. It's Stanlib, which is a subsidiary of Stanbic Bank. Okay. The project accountant is KPMG, and the fund auditors are Ernst & Young. We operate above board, and this is totally transparent. Okay. Some people have confused this with the government fund. It's not the government fund, but we definitely collaborate with the government fund. Okay. Yeah. All right. And that's the victory hour. When you are cured of any infection, this is how you exit. Okay. So while when you are sick, you come in that way. When you're well, you go out this way. Okay. If you are lounge, and also as a patient, you also get decontaminated before you leave. Finally. With your family waiting for you. Okay, great. I just want to end by saying I'm taking up this challenge that you've thrown out to all citizens of Ghana. So I am contributing, and when you do, you also have to nominate 5 persons. Absolutely. So here we go with my 5 friends in the media that I'm nominating. You, Roland Walker, I am nominating you, Roland Walker of Joy News. Also extending an invitation to Omahene Kwabena Sante and Obi of Adum TV and Ekosiseng on Asempa FM. I'm stretching out and nominating my friend Kojo Akotoboating of City FM and Francis Aban of Star FM. Join, let's all contribute towards the completion of this project. Thank you so much, Mama V. Stonebwoy, if you can hear me, shatter this challenge for us. Thank you so much. All right. Okay, back to you, Roland Walker. And it's interesting that we're in this facility. I know you're also talking to our colleague, Gary Al Smith, who is recovering at the UGMC. One of the things we've been talking about is stigmatization, and he's doing a fantastic job. So stay with us and enjoy this next conversation. Please don't stigmatize. Stay safe.
Yeah. Engineer, Mama V also budget. Well, she wishes. She really is not, of course. And Gary Al Smith is also joining us and has been over the last 3 days talking about his own experiences of stigmatization as he's witnessed with other people as he has been recovering from the infection coronavirus. But we're all in this together because we do have colleagues here, right here, Multimedia, who also have been infected, and we need to make sure that we put what information is right out there. Gary, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me, Roland.
Yeah, great.
It's a pleasure.
Great. Have you been discharged already?
Yes, I have, since last night.
Charlie, fantastic. You look good. But what have been your experiences that you've been sharing over the last 3 days, Gary?
Personally, it's important to state that I have not personally faced direct stigmatization, obviously, because I am, I was in there. And the only thing you can talk about is probably some online, you know how people can be online, with a few people even doubting whether I was COVID positive and so on and so forth. I use the word was because I have undergone the test to find out if I am negative. The test result is not yet out, but the regulations have changed because of the whole WHO thing that the president spoke about in his address. So it means then that I have done 10 days, and so I have been out of the facility. So personally, though, I've not experienced what you call direct stigmatization, but people very close to me, and I mean very, very, very close to me, because of my association with them. Unfortunately, some of these people are my work colleagues on my desk. Some of the stories are really sad, Roland, because they know me and just because they work with me, they've had some difficult moments. And then you look at some of the patients at the UGMC as well, who have some harrowing stories, of the way their friends have been treating them, why they are unable to even tell family members. And then there are those who, have just come in, who also feel like if they even tell anyone, they'll be in trouble. So it's layered, different kinds. Those who have already told family members and are facing, or friends and are facing the stigmatization from the communities. Those who know and because of that are afraid to even get the required psychological and emotional support from people because of the stigmatization they fear they will get. It's important to note that I have sounded very, very positive. I have sounded very, very upbeat, and generally I've sort of been a ray of sunshine to myself, and I imagine to others.
Yeah, definitely it's got to do with the link. And we're speaking to Gary L. Smith, sports editor with the sports team right here, a joy, and sharing his experiences that we know definitely are going to impact lives, but it's all because it's a COVID moment. We all using the show want to be. Yeah, Gary, you can continue. Yeah, I can see you.
Yeah, sorry, why did you lose me?
Your experiences, how you've been a ray of sunshine to yourself. Yes.
Yes, and the point I was making was that I couldn't have done all that without support, and that is absolutely vital. Now, Roland, imagine yourself being, this was the first time I had ever been admitted in a hospital, consciously, because the only time I was admitted, I think I collapsed many, many years ago. I have no recollection of how it happened, but this is the first time I have been admitted, and I have known that I have been admitted. And for those who have been in hospital before, you know how lonely it can be and how you can easily go into a pit of self-pity and depression and all that. I was only constantly upbeat and all that because of support I got from family, from very good friends, from colleagues at work. And I'd like to give shout outs to a lot of the guys at work. If I mention names, there'll be too many. So imagine those who have come to facilities like UGMC at this time when COVID is the current disease in vogue. Everybody is looking at you, everybody is talking at you, and they can't have any kind of support. They can't pick up a phone and call anybody. They can't text anybody about it. They cannot describe anything that's happened to them. It is a really, really difficult time for these people. And that is one out of 1,001 reasons why we should keep these people close. I remember, for my age, the biggest anti-stigmatization campaign that I can relate to is the HIV and AIDS one, in the late 90s and early 2000s. That's the biggest one I've seen. I've seen how it worked.
Stop AIDS, Love Life. Yeah.
Yeah, Stop AIDS, Love Life, and all the work that went into it. I mean, even then, you saw how much it took for the message to sink.
Yeah.
Look, we have not done
half of it.
Yes, go ahead.
I was part of that campaign, so I know what it is. Even for me, even featuring in the ads, I was even thought to be HIV positive.
One, the TikTok adverts, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So
I remember. I mean, at the time, you were one of the few people who was doing news on television. One of the young people who was doing news on television, and so Israel and some of your colleagues back when you were, at the Sunway and all that. So yeah, that's what I can say. If you have any more questions.
All right, no more questions, Gary. We thank you for your time, but we wish you well as well. And we're all in this together. Look, the stigmatization also comes to us definitely. So our time is up. You know how broadcasting time is.
It's at work, I know, but we'll have that conversation later.
Okay, bro. And Gary and I will go way back, way back. He knows what I'm talking about. So Gary L. Smith, thank you for concluding for us. We've had Mama Viosa Boaje, Dr. The Right Reverend Dr. Boafo helping us, Professor Teriam Ponsa, we've had Sefam Lord Mensa, and then Professor Yosef also helping us do this great conversation. Of course, we had sports and all. Have a great morning. We have the live transmission. The Ministry of Information will bring all for you right here on the channel. Bye-bye.